My uncle spent my graduation party telling everyone I'd never amount to anything without his money. So I handed him the framed copy of the check I used to pay back every cent, dated the day I turned 18. The party was in my mom's backyard, string lights and a folding table of grocery store cake, and Uncle Rick showed up an hour late in a car that cost more than the house. He clapped me on the shoulder hard enough to spill my drink and said it loud, so the whole yard could hear. There he is, a college man. You know who paid for that, right? People laugh the way you laugh when you're not sure it's a joke. Come on, Rick, my mom said. I'm just saying. He grabbed a beer from the cooler without asking. Kid wouldn't have a nickel to his name if I hadn't stepped in. Tuition, the car, the braces. You'd all still be renting if it weren't for me. That's not really, she started. Marissa, please. He raised the beer at her like a toast. I carried this family. Somebody had to after Dan died. The yard went quiet at my dad's name. Rick liked doing that. He'd drop it like a coin in a jar and wait for the silence to pay him. To my nephew, he announced, who'd better remember when he's out there in the real world exactly where his start came from. Because let me tell you, without my money, this one never amounts to anything. A few people clink glasses because they didn't know what else to do. I set my cup down. You want to talk about the money, Uncle Rick? I'd love to. Okay. I went inside. He was still going when I came back out, telling my aunt about how he'd basically raised me. I walked up and handed him the frame. He looked at it, annoyed. What's this? Read it. It was a photocopy of a cashier's check. His name in the pay-to line. The full amount to the dollar of everything he ever gave us. And the date. July 9th, I said. You recognize it, should I? It's my 18th birthday. I paid you back every cent the day I was legally allowed to. He laughed, but it came out wrong. Paid me back with what? You were a kid flipping burgers. When my dad died, I said, turning to the yard, he left a trust. For me, college, the car, all of it. He named Rick the trustee because Rick was his brother and he thought that meant something. That's confidential, Rick snapped. It stopped being confidential the second you started using it as a party speech. I pulled the second document from behind the frame and unfolded it. This is the accounting my lawyer pulled when the trust dissolved on my birthday. Every gift Rick bragged about, he paid for it out of my father's money. My money. Then he'd hand me the receipt like it came from his own pocket. My aunt's face had gone white. Rick, tell me that's not true. He also, I said, took a 19% management fee every year that no trust on earth allows. That's the check. I made him repay what he skimmed in full the day I turned 18, because at 18 I could finally hire someone to read the paperwork he'd been hiding since I was 9. Rick's beer hand was shaking now. You signed off on that fee. Your mother signed off. My mother never saw a single statement. You told her Dan left nothing. I looked at my mom. Her hand was over her mouth. You let her clean houses for 11 years while you drove that. The whole yard was staring at him. Not the way they'd stared at me all night. That soft, pitying way. Poor kid. Lucky to have an uncle. This was different. You cashed the check, I said, 8 months ago. So you already know it cleared. You already know the number was exact. You came here tonight to my house and stood in front of these people and called it your money, knowing I have your signature on the deposit. He set the beer down very carefully, like it had gotten heavy. Everything you gave me, I said, you stole first, and I gave it all back so that for the rest of my life, I would never owe you a thing. I took the frame out of his hands. So say it again, Uncle Rick. Say I'll never amount to anything without your money. I turned the frame around so the whole yard could read the date, because I paid it back before I could legally buy a lottery ticket. And you still showed up here broke enough to lie about it.